One of my favorite authors in the world of strength and health and fitness and longevity and performance is John Jesse. He was a writer from Southern California. He wrote a very good book on getting ready for football. My favorite book back there, The Wrestling Conditioning Encyclopedia. One of the things I find when I read these programs from the 1960s, and I spend a lot of money buying older books, older magazines on the work, is that the people in the 50s and 60s not only were fighting with the sport coaches who thought that weightlifting would make their athletes muscle bound, and what I was told as a child, it would turn me into a homosexual, which is just so offensive in to everyone. I think I still don't understand all that sometimes, but the thing about Jesse and some of those others is that they were making some very important points about training in the off season that we miss today. This is a magazine from 1968. It's called Mr. America and All American Athlete. They were blending these two magazines at once, and it's one of the last articles that I really found from Jesse that I will come back to time and time again. So Jesse writes an article called New Concepts in Strength Development for Track and Field Athletes. He makes a point here quoting John Bunn. Bunn says, "Force has the same relationship to athletics that breath has to an individual. There would be no athletics without force. In the individual, the primary force is his strength. The coach and athlete should be tremendously concerned with the source of force and the proper application of that force." Well, I think he just summarized track and field. Now, what I love about these older magazines sometimes is that, Jesse will go on to compliment the German authors of the time, McCoy, that great author. Murray's work is in here, McCoy's work in here, Delorme's work is in here. And there was so much respect for those who studied in the field. Though it is interesting that when Jesse talks about isometrics and the isometric craze, which was dying out probably by 68, he tells us a great majority of the studies utilized very limited training sessions, 4 to 15 weeks, which is always a knock. Anything good can happen in 6 weeks. Subjects were grammar, high school, or college students having average strength levels for these groups. No studies were made with trained athletes. That's not a knock on the material. It's more just kind of remember when you're studying people who are untrained and you add anything, they're going to make adaptations and accommodations. But what got me thinking is how when we look at something like interval training, or we look at something like interval weight training, which Pat O'Shea developed so well, and then our friends over at Jim Jones really expanded upon. When we work at circuit training, I sometimes think that's not what they meant. So I pulled out one program from John Jesse on circuit training. Now, he tells us that you need to use 10 to 15% of your best in these lifts. So for me to do the circuit trainings of John Jesse, I would need like basically the barbell to do this workout. Here's the workout. So the workout's very simple. You run 100 meters around, and then you rest 30 seconds. And then you do Olympic press from the shoulders. You're going to do 3 sets of 30. So you can do a set of 30, rest for 1 minute, clean press, clean press, clean press, 30 reps. Rest for 1 minute between sets. So you can do 90 clean and presses, and then take a 2-minute rest. Then you're going to run 150 meters, take a rest, and then you're going to snatch. Again, 3 sets of 30 with a minute rest, which is 90 snatches. Then, after you run 200 meters around the gym and take a 2-minute rest, you finally have something easy, which is 30 reps of the clean for 3 more sets. So another 90 reps. After that, you run 250 meters, you take a 2-minute rest, and then you do jumping squats without weights, and then the reps drop down to 3 sets of 20. 3 sets of 20 jumping squats, a 3-minute rest, and between the jumping squats you have a full 3 minutes of rest. and then another 100 meters, and then you do wind sprints of, it looks to me about, you do 4 wind sprints of about 20 meters each with just a short rest. Clean and press, snatch, clean, jump squat, plus runs. That's a lot of work. And that's the way it was back then. So back in the 50s and 60s, even though you wouldn't see a lot of load on the bars, you would see a lot of work in the gym. And I think that's something we often forget when we look at programs. Folks, it's about hard work. I mean, hard work is a big factor in performance. I love going back to these old magazines behind me on my racks, or just old magazines and old books. I like to reference them, and I constantly am trying to answer the question, what did they mean by this? And sometimes what they meant was a lot of hard work. I'm not telling you to do any of these programs, but sometimes it's worth your time to get light on the bar, get a lot of reps in, and just push that cardiovascular system through the roof. I hope that helps.